Right, in the previous example, we assumed that the carrying amount of this asset at the end of its useful life of 3 years is going to be 0. So here is my 0. What that means is that at the end of 3 years, this asset's value would have been reduced to absolutely nothing, which means that the wear and tear over the 3 years would have reduced this asset to 0, which is not practical. In real life, what happens is maybe at the end of 3 years, we'll be able to sell this computer for 3,000 Rand. So we're going to introduce another term now, which we call the residual value or the salvage value. Residual or salvage value. And that is the amount that we can sell the asset for at the end of its useful life. So let's see how it works if we take exactly the same information, but we're now going to assume that this asset has got a residual value of 3,000 Rand. So let's just put this in a different color here. So the residual value is going to be 3,000 Rand. Let's see. Right, so here we've got exactly the same example, except now we've got a residual value of 3,000 Rand. So what that means is at the end of our last year, which is year 3, we are going to have 3,000 Rand, which will be the value of the asset that is unused. Okay, so 3,000 Rand of this asset will never be used because we're estimating that it's not practical for the whole computer to be used up, and at the end of the day about 3,000 Rand will remain. And that is called the residual value or the salvage value, which is also an estimate of the amount that we can sell this asset for at the end of its useful life. So what that means is over the course of these 3 years, we will not use up or depreciate as in the previous example the full 9,000, but rather only 9,000 minus 3,000, and we're going to use it evenly over 3 years, so that is going to give us 2,000 Rand that will be used every single year, because this 3,000 here is the residual value at the end of the 3 years. So every year, if we're assuming that the asset is being used evenly, we are going to use or depreciate 2,000 Rand per year. So this is how it looks. Let's see, on day 1, we've got our asset, here we go, and it has got a value of 9,000 Rand still. Then at the end of year 1, so at the end of year 1 and at the end of every year, I'm going to have this untouchable 3,000, which is the residual value of the asset, which we're not going to depreciate and we're not going to use for accounting purposes. So the portion that is left to be used is this 6,000 Rand here, which we are going to use equally. So let's divide my 6,000 into 3 equal years. So there we go. And each year we are going to use 2,000 Rand of this asset. So in year 2 we've got the same thing, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, and also in year 3 same thing, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. Right, then in year 1 we're going to use the first 2,000 Rand. So there goes my first 2,000 Rand. My used portion is 2,000 Rand. In year 2 we're going to use the second 2,000 Rand as well. So there goes my second 2,000 Rand. It is now being used. And finally in the last year we are going to use the last 2,000 Rand. So I will be left with another 2,000 Rand that has been used. If we look at the cost minus the accumulated depreciation, which is what the value of the asset is made up of, we're going to see each year that the cost is 9,000 Rand every single year. The accumulated depreciation, however, is going to grow each year by 2,000 Rand. So in the first year, my accumulated depreciation is going to be 2,000 Rand. In the second year, it's going to be 4,000 Rand. And in the last year, it is going to be the full 6,000 Rand. And that is going to give me 9 minus the 2 is going to give me this 2 plus 2 plus 3, which is equal to 7. And 9 minus the 2. 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, which is the same as the 9 minus the 4. And then lastly, 9 minus the 6 is going to give me my 3,000, which is what we have there. So in year 1, the accumulated depreciation or accumulated usage was 2,000 Rand. In year 2, the accumulated usage was 4,000 Rand. And finally, in the last year, it was 6,000 Rand. So with the residual value being 3,000 Rand, the maximum amount of depreciation was the 6,000 Rand over the 3 years, leaving us with a carrying amount of 3,000 Rand at the end of this asset's useful life, which is equal to the amount that we can sell this asset for on that day.